Welcome back. Okay, so in the first of this series we outlined what an all-green Betfair book was and how we hope to generate that. But the key to doing this for bigger stakes is to understand the maths that are involved in laying all selections in an event, because it's very easy to do that in a way that means we have an all-red book, which is the complete worst scenario. So if we just lay them at the odds that are available there, for the same amount we put in before, we get what is an all-red book, which means that no matter what happens, we're going to lose. So obviously, we cannot afford to do that. We need to shoot completely the opposite direction, and the way to do that is to understand the maths. So here we are in Excel, and we've got an example football match here. And the way we're going to approach this is the way that a bookmaker would approach pricing up an event. That's what we have to be. We have to be the bookmaker in this scenario. Now, within a bookmaker team of people, there's people called traders, risk analysts, or odds compilers, depending on where you are. Now, their job is to produce odds that closely represent the chance of an occurrence. So their job is to make sure that the odds next to a team represent the chance of that team winning fairly. So we can see we've started here with two reasonably matched teams and odds that say that so far we're not sure who's going to win this game. So in a perfectly even game between two even teams, probably on a neutral ground, we might see odds like this. Now in truth, you never actually get the perfectly even matched teams, because there's always something in one or the other's favour, whether that be home advantage, an injury to a key player, a new manager arrives, a certain referee. There are a lot of variables that prevent us having this perfect scenario with the same odds for both teams. But we need to understand the base point, if you like, the bottom line. Now what it is we're actually trying to get to grips with here is a betting percentage. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you refer back to the Betfair screen we were on before, you may or may not have noticed a little percentage sign up here, a little percentage sign up here. Now, the perfect neutral game has a betting percentage of 100%, and that means that if everyone bet on all the events to a set amount, then the bookmaker wouldn't win and the punter wouldn't win. Overall, nobody's winning, nobody's losing. So to calculate the percentage that we've got here, which is 100, or here, which is 100.8 or 99.4, all we have to do is divide 100 by the odds that we have there. So in Excel terms, that's equals 100 divided by the odds. Now if we do exactly the same for each event, equals 100 divided by the odds, equals 100 divided by the odds, then the total amount there equals 100. Let's round it up, because just to make this easier. So the total percentage here on an even game is 100. Now what happens in a bookmakers, and this is exactly what we need to do, is we need to build in a profit margin. So we need 100 to be a bigger number, and I haven't shown you how to calculate it. Let's get rid of those for simplicity. So we need the percentage to be bigger. That's what we need. We need this to go up. And the way to do that is to manipulate the odds. So let's try that. With Liverpool, we reduce the odds to, for example, 2.6. And the percentage goes up. Now that 2%, that added 2% is our profit margin, and that's what we're shooting for. Now, what we have to be careful of is these odds will change as factors of the game are introduced. So if, for example, Steven Gerrard was injured for Liverpool, then their odds may go out to a higher number. The percentage dips below 100, so we can't have that. So what do you do in that scenario? Well, if this odds goes up, this odds has to come down to 2.6. And again, whatever we're doing, we always need to ensure that our percentage is higher than 100. Remember, that is the key point. 99 and below, we're going to make a loss. 100 and above, we're going to make a profit. So we can play around with these odds, but we are tied in by what's available on the Betfair site when we're placing these bets. So we can't, for example, just put these out to ridiculous figures have a huge profit margin, but effectively our bets won't get matched. We have to remember that. We have to stay within the confines of Betfair that allow us to place matched bets and therefore generate a profit. But it's going to be a small one, so we have to adapt our stake and do this regularly. So the key points are always be more than 100, that's what we're shooting for here, and then keep these numbers in line with what's available on the Betfair website. That's really important. So I'm showing you this in Excel just to take us away for a while, if you like. We need to step out, step back, understand what's going on before we go back into Betfair. But in reality, as you trade in these markets, you don't need to do this. This is just a way of understanding it. Luckily, the way Betfair is built is excellent, and there are options within it to actually show us these things directly on the screen. So you can see it's already shown us the percentage here and here. So we can see that above 100, which we could see is good, and below 100, which we can see is bad. And because that's below 100, that's why when we click the 3 and lay them all for the same amount, because that number is less than 100, that's why we're going to make a loss on each of those events. Now on the blue side you can see it's above 100. So if we change these numbers here to match these numbers here, we're above 100, and what we should see is a green profit on the left. So 2.86, 2.78 and 3.35. Straight away we're now seeing an all green book. Now again, we're still at small amounts here, but again we need to understand the principles. So Betfair's doing the calculations for us, luckily. Now, as I've explained before, prices fluctuate on Betfair. They go up and they go down, sometimes based on match events, but also they will do that just in the process of going from now until the start of the game, and then they'll change even more during it. You can look at in play elsewhere. So what we might want to do is, we're 100.8 is readily available, but what we might want to do is shoot slightly higher than that. So for Bolton, we're going to reduce that to 2.84. To Everton, 2.76. And the draw, now less people bet on the draw than they do on teams. People generally back their favourite teams, which is fine, but obviously that's normal betting where you've got a chance to lose, and we don't want to do that. We want guaranteed profits. So we're going to leave the draw as it is because there's less chance of them getting matched. We're going to try and steal a little bit more profit margin on our teams. And you can see down here again, Betfair's doing all the calculations for us. We've got a lay percent of 101.29%. The 100 brings us up to an even position, and the 1.29 is our additional profit margin. So all you need to do now, you've set up your pricing, you've set up your stake. Let's just repeat that to make sure it's consistent, because you can see the draw here is now slightly out of line because we've manipulated these two. Let's bring that back to a £10 payout, much more consistent now. And then all you do is place the bets. Gives you a confirmation screen, and your bets are on. Now what I'd suggest you do now is you go away, you make a cup of tea, read the paper, do what it is you need to do, and then we'll come back slightly later when these bets have been matched. Now as an aside, and this is an important point, what I'd recommend you do is you change this option at in play to keep. And the reason I say that is because if for any reason your bets didn't get matched in the run up to the game, there will be a lot more variability in the pricing during the game. So by changing this to keep, what that means is at kickoff your bets still stay available for people to match. So I'd always recommend you leave it to keep, and then even if they're not matched in the run up to the event, in the first few minutes someone will attack and the odds will go down, someone will attack and the odds will go up. And you'll get that variability, which will allow you to get all your bets matched, and you'll be able to sit back and look at an all green book on the left hand side. So when you change that to keep, make sure you save the changes, continue, and like I say, now you go away and you wait for all three of these to be matched. What will happen is that one will be matched, you might wait 10 minutes and another will be matched, because you're relying on other people coming onto the site and taking these bets. But you need to come back at the point where all three of these bets are on. Okay, so in this video we've covered how to understand betting percentages and how to manipulate the odds in order to make sure you're the right side of 100%, and then how to manipulate them, even tweak them, to make sure that you get the maximum possible profit. The profit margins will be small, as we've seen here. 1.29% would be normal, if slightly low. But the key is to do this to reasonably high stakes and do it very, very often, and thereby sealing in that profit from every game that we bet on, and not doing what a normal bettor does, which is punt on a game and hope something wins and something loses. We're looking for risk-free betting. Okay, so that summarises a bit of the maths. If you've got any more questions, of course, then don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Just go to the contact us option on the Expert Betting Videos site, send me a question, and obviously you'll get a personal response, which goes through anything you need to in more detail. But otherwise, stick with us for the third section, and we'll try and apply this for slightly larger amounts and see what happens. See you shortly.